Okay, part 2, let's look at fractional exponents. Now, the key ones are really probably these top two to begin with. Anything to the power of a half is the same as doing a square root. Anything to the power of a third is the same as doing a cube root. Basically, this number here is the same as this number here on the root. We don't normally write a 2 for a square root, but if you're familiar with square being the power of 2, then that sort of makes sense anyway. Now, if we don't have 1 as our numerator, so in general any fraction, what we're going to do is we're going to take the nth root of that raised to that power. Now, even more useful is actually this rule here. You take the nth root and raise it to the power of n. Let's look at a few examples to show that then. So, if I did 9 to the power of a half, the power of a half means a square root. So, the square root of 9 would be 3. Now, also technically negative 3, but we'll ignore that for the time being. We'll stick with positive roots. Let's try one with a third. So, the power of a third means it's the cube root, so think which number multiplied together 3 times gives you 8, and the answer for that one would be 2. Let's take a look at one of these with a fraction, where the numerator is not 1. So, something like, well, let's try 8 to the power of 2/3. Now, if we write it as this definition, we get that. Now, we can probably cope with this. 8 squared is 64, and then we have to do the cube root of 64, so we've got to think which number multiplied together 3 times gives us 64, and you'd probably come up with the answer of 4. Much better is actually to do the root first, so do the cube root of 8 and then square it. So the cube root of 8 is 2, 2 squared is 4. Not a huge deal for this question, but if I was suddenly to throw this question at you, if you try to work out 16 to the power of 5, you're probably going to have difficulties. And even if you were to manage to do that, you certainly wouldn't know which number multiplied together 4 times gives you that number. So let's do it the other way around. Let's do the 4th root of 16 raised to the power of 5. Which number multiplied together 4 times gives you 16? Well, that's going to be 2. We already know that 2 to the power of 4 is 16 just from this one, so we need to times by another 2 here to work out 2 to the 5. So that would be 32. So much more useful. And a lot of people do powers and then roots. The essential thing that you should write in your notes here is always do the roots first and do the powers second.